The author of this book left a $275 million fortune to charity after he died, and he wrote down the secrets to his success in this terribly named book, The Success System That Never Fails. Honestly, they didn't start coming up with good titles for these types of books until the early 2000s, but if you've seen it before and just didn't pick it up because of the title, or you didn't know who this W. Clement Stone was anyways, I've got 7 takeaways from the book that will give you the confidence that you can succeed in business and to help you feel prepared for the long entrepreneurial slog that you have in front of you. I'm working towards reading 10,000 books, and right now I'm at 1,234 at the time of recording this video, and I take notes on every single book that I read. So all of my notes are on my Patreon for sure, but the last takeaway in this video is universally spoken about as the one key to success of almost every successful person. So before you can change your mind, let's start with the first takeaway. Inspiration to action is the most important ingredient to success in any human activity, and inspiration to action can be developed at will. What this basically means is that nothing's going to work unless you do. For anything to happen, you have to actually get started. You have to start moving. But the second part of this quote is exceptionally important as well. It can be developed at will, meaning your capacity for action is not nearly fully developed. You can do more, and if you've achieved something, that means that it wasn't your potential. It's a universal law. It takes more energy to overcome inertia in getting started from a standstill than to continue the momentum of a moving body when it is once in motion. You've heard this one before, something about apples, but it builds upon what we were just talking about. Once you actually get started, you have to not stop. You have to keep moving. And it's actually easier to keep moving once you've already started. This is momentum. And business is all about speed and keeping up the momentum. And honestly, like getting known is all about remaining in public view and just making people think about you all the time and just never retreating and being shameless about, being noticed, being noticeable, being active and moving and doing things, making moves. You have to move with incredible speed if you want to win, or even if you want to sort of like make it at all. If you want to keep staying in business, you have to move, like you have to get started, and then you have to keep moving, and it's so incredibly important. The next one trips a lot of people up too, and it's just that you should solve each problem as you meet it. One of my business mentors, MJ DeMarco, he calls these Ferrari problems, and I first heard about it in a book of his, which has, again, it's like a scammy title. But it's such an incredible book. It's called The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco. It's one of my favorite business books of all time. It helped me tremendously. I remember, working a minimum wage job overnight, like security, in my car, basically, reading this book. Like I was moving, I had gotten started, and then I read this book. And he talks about Ferrari problem. And what he means is that, you have to solve the problem that's right in front of you instead of thinking ahead and trying to figure out, how you're gonna make Ferrari payments and stuff like that, right? Like that's not a problem that you have to focus on right now. And that's what W. Clement Stone means by this. He also says that one way to make a fortune is to sell a necessity that is low in cost and repeats. The fortune is made in the repeat business. Just make your customers happy, man. Like honestly, so much of your business is going to come from referrals, and it's going to come from repeat business. People who, it takes so much more effort to find new customers, more effort than it does to actually just make the current customers you have happier and more satisfied. And I used to make the same mistake with my social media, right? I would almost ignore the current followers that I had, and then I'd go after all these like new followers. I'd always want more followers, right? But I never, not never, but oftentimes I wouldn't be thinking enough about what my current audience wanted to see, what they needed from me. And I was always sort of chasing other audiences, right? That's not the way to go. The fortune is made in the repeat business. Sales are contingent upon the attitude of the salesperson, not the attitude of the customer. This is a big one too. So salespeople who don't sell anything, they always think that it's the customer's fault. It's like, oh, they didn't have the money, or they had too many objections, or they didn't really know enough about my offer. They they didn't they weren't in the mood, or like they weren't able to make the decision. No, a lot of these things are because of you. You don't believe in what you're selling. You don't believe that it's actually right for them. And side note, you should actually believe that truthfully, because that gives you so much more power when you're talking to people about a solution that you have for them. If you actually believe that this is in their best interests to do business with you, you are going to treat them differently, you are going to speak differently, and you are going to come across differently as well. And so, the success of the sales interaction is more dependent on your attitude than the attitude of the customer. Stone is just absolutely right, again, from like 50 years ago or 70 years ago. And then there's this one: rate of growth is figured in percentages. If sales were $100,000 2 years ago and $200,000 last year, the rate of growth was 100%. If sales totaled $300,000 this year, the rate of growth has dropped to 50%. What a drop! If the rate of growth continues to drop at this rate, there is trouble ahead. Always figure growth in percentages. This one's more tactical, but you see the problem here. You're focusing on the wrong numbers. You're looking at like the gross revenue going up, but then your actual business, like the trend of your business is declining, and that's what you should pay attention to. So it's not always the most obvious number that you should be looking at. And I even found this to be true in the social media aspect of my business, where, I had like a certain number of followers. My followers were going up, but the rate of growth of my accounts was declining. If I wanted to keep going, I would have had to change my strategy, which I did, because obviously, and that changed. My growth started to go up again because I was looking at the proper numbers. So you always have to look at the right number. And the last one, it is the big one. You can motivate another person to do what you want when you give him an opportunity to get what he wants. This brings to mind a quote from Jim Rohn that I think about virtually every single day, where he says you can get anything you want in life as long as you help enough other people to get what they want. Again, it's just like, the fortune is made in the repeat business. You actually take the interest of other people to heart, and you actually do what's good for them, and you put their interests first, and you try to help them win. And that's just how we all win at the same time. Like, business is not this zero-sum game where you have to make someone else lose in order for you to win. Like, we can all win. And Stone understood this, and this is why he was able to donate $275 million to charity after he died. I mean, imagine pressing the like button 275 million times. Like, that's how many dollars he left to charity. And so this book is a fast read. It's not going to take you a tremendous time to finish. And what I like about Stone is that there's no dark history or like secret past about the guy. Admittedly, not a whole lot is known about the guy in his personal life or whatever. Maybe he's a monster, but nobody says that he is. Like, he's one of those rare people that are just genuinely good person, it seems, right? Even though Hunter S. Thompson would have hated how much money he gave to the Nixon presidential campaign, but that is a discussion for another day. This is just a guy who made a bunch of money and gave it all away and wrote a book about how exactly you can do it too. So if you like reading those types of books, then I recommend this one as well. So I am well on my way to reaching my goal of reading 10,000 books, but that is it for this video. If you want to watch more videos from me, I'll put 2 really good ones up on the screen next. And hey, happy reading.
I don't waste time, no, I make time. All these people wanna hate, fine, I'ma make mine. While you sitting there complaining, I'll be training. While you sitting there just waiting, I'm creating. Yeah, sometimes I think that I'm